person. There is something in us, or at least something in some of us, that urgently seeks to make sense out of disconnected data and unassimilated experience, to draw links between people like us and people not at all like us, between what happened long ago and what is happening right now, or could happen next. The urgency increases when the subject at hand, like war or disease, involves life and death, including the potential death of all people on Earth. We need to know, and we need to know something more than piles of unrelated observations. So the reckless amateur rushes in, where the prudent scholar fears to tread. 11 years ago, prodded by the assignment of a 2,000-word preface to a book unknown in my own country, I began my study of war. Unrestrained by loyalty to any particular academic discipline, I read widely, and at first almost randomly, puzzling over ethnographic and historical detail, savoring the sweeping perspectives of those few who dared to propose them. Being a journalist, as well as an amateur scholar, I not only read people's books and articles, but also tracked down the authors at their homes or offices, and pestered them with my questions. I shamelessly borrowed from my children's higher educations, studying over their shoulders, as it were, anthropology at Oxford, and religious studies at Brown. I gave talks which were initially mostly questions, and left with new insights and long lists of suggested readings. In keeping with my original preoccupations, as well as with Tavelite's theme, my suspicions first centered on the theme of gender. Wars, after all, have been fought, in almost all cases, by men, and sometimes for the stated purpose of making them men. But as I pressed back further in time and broadened my inquiry to include other forms of organized and socially sanctioned violence, such as rituals of blood sacrifice, a deeper and far more ancient explanatory theme emerged. This was not something I had ever thought about before. In fact, it lay entirely outside my conceptual framework and analytic approach to the world. What it amounts to is a new evolutionary perspective on war and related forms of violence. But, if I am right about the direction in which the relevant scholarship is tending, one that will not remain new and startling for long. This is a theory about the feelings people invest in war and often express as their motivations for fighting, where these feelings might have originated, and how they have played out in history. I should emphasize at the outset that human feelings do not account for all that we might want to know about war or particular wars, why they start in each instance, or end in the ways that they do. On the question of what causes war, or any particular war, Tolstoy still has the last word. The deeper we delve in search of these causes, the more of them we discover, and each single cause or series of causes appears to us equally valid in itself, and equally false by its insignificance, compared to the magnitude of the event. It was a long time before I was able to make this distinction. That is, to understand that the feelings we bring to war are not, in themselves, a full and complete explanation for the persistence of war. What war is, why it really happens, and what we might do to keep it from happening, are questions we will return to in the second half of this book, and especially at the very end. Until then, the focus will be on the feelings we bring to war, with the understanding that they are not the sole cause of war. They are the way it digs its talons into us, no more than that, and no less. A note of caution. The standards of proof in an endeavor like this are hardly as firm as those that prevail in the natural sciences which constituted my formal education. Speculation plays a definite role here, though I will try to alert you to where it begins and leaves off. But the occasional foray into speculation does not mean that we can be content with any old story which suits our tastes and fits a smattering of the